MSI champions, EWC champions, 29-1 regular split, not losing a single best of 5 since winter. All pro for the whole year, 5 players, and yet we are here. Gen.G versus KT.
당구는 일단은 주의.
I wanted to take a look at game 5. Let me know if you want me to take a look at a different game. Let's start with, of course, the draft conversation. So, Gen.G have a composition with the first pick Rumble. They set up for some comfort picks. This is something that Gen.G has done in the past in, of course, game 5s. On the other side, KT set up a trade for, of course, the Wukong and set up for Engage with the Lissandra and picked away Maokai and sent it support just to deny any potential Maokai Rumble Yon compositions in, of course, the game 5. Gen.G then pivoted to Lee Sin and Twisted Fate, two champions that they've played a lot, and chose to slam Kalista Renata in 4-5 to dominate the Ezreal Maokai lane. Gen.G need to get big advantages in the early game through their lane power, and then, of course, transition that to the point where Twisted Fate, with the advantage, is going to get, of course, 3 items, and then they poke and play on range, and then Kalista and Renata need to stay ahead of the curve, because this matchup should be unplayable in the bot lane for Ezreal and Maokai. On KT's side, the Lissandra lock-in is not the greatest into Twisted Fate specifically, because Twisted Fate can go Spellbook and then get Cleanse on 6, and Wukong doesn't have a lot of timers to gank. But of course, Lissandra is a champion that is a very strong team fighter, and if she can get to the point where she can AoE the enemies down together with the teammates, she can be very strong. But of course, this assumes that they are on even footing or can create fights on their own conditions. The early game, as expected, Gen.G had a massive advantage in bot lane. Ezreal had to drive base, and we're going to have the situation where they look to swap. The big advantage from Gen.G came from the fact that they kept a freeze and then Rumble, base and opened into bottom side. He doesn't have ultimate, but Ezreal and Maokai are going to open bot lane again. So a key detail here is that Dioktam and Peter opted in to not swap into top to match because they are bleeding CS. And in most cases, they're not going to be able to deny the Rumble because Rumble is very strong and can practically 1v2 such a weak lane. At least in their thought process, they feel we're going to get Dragon here and Wukong will get at least something. Because on top side, if we match, we're going to be in trouble. Maybe the Merc shouldn't be bought and maybe you should build something bulkier. But Perfect just walks away because he doesn't want to get dove. The cheeky thing here about what Gen.G did is that Lee Sin doesn't even pressure dive. He doesn't even look to dive. Twisted Fate bases in fog. Lee just clears camps. The Yorick is so scared, but through acceleration, Gen.G could look to recall. They farm on Lee Sin, and Perfect just thinks that everybody stopped. We're gonna get platings, and Gen.G through this means get, of course, super far ahead. After the powerful early game, of course, Gen.G is now 2000 gold ahead, and they have the Grubs versus 1 Dragon. This is a very crucial timer for KT. They have 1 core, 1 core, 1 core, all the Trinity Force finished, and of course Redemption. The key advantage here is this 2k gold lead is only significant if it's leveraged to, of course, get to 2 items ahead of the enemy. Currently, they're on even footing, and if they're in a team fight, that 2k gold lead is not relevant at all. We have even matched items, and of course, Gen.G's advantage will be felt the most when they reach 2 core, because that's a pretty big window where they'll have that advantage, especially with the Twisted Fate gold, and of course the advantage that they built. If you just compare Kalista versus Ezreal, that's a 800 gold lead. You have, of course, Twisted Fate with his passive. Even though he's even, he's got a couple of platings. You can see that he's ahead too. But right now, they're on even footing. Bearing that in mind, Gen.G, now posture for the Dragon, Cannon gets another crab. You can see here that Gen.G's crucial mistake is the fact that they set up a scenario where they enter into the pit. And look how beautifully BDD solves the situation, because he's going to port over, making sure that even while in the pit, Ruler is going to get flanked. And pay attention to how much value now that Kuz and of course BDD is going to get. And BDD is super happy. As long as he gets 1 target down and he can start proccing his passive, you'll see that he gets a tremendous amount of value. Kaz knocks up 3 and they AoE everybody down in the pit. And this, of course, is wonderful for the composition that is scaling into the game. They even brought the Rift Herald to the party, and you can see that the Lissandra pop passive just starts popping people left and right. Redemption used late, but who cares? They just won, of course, a massive fight. During that segment, you might ask yourself, what was Chovy up to? He was just matched with the Yorick. The Yorick was pushing with Mercs. He has good items and can do well into the TF. And the fight was practically happening with 4v4 numbers. Eventually, TF is going to base and he expects his teammates to just take this and run. If Gen.G want to improve on anything here, is that they should pull out the dragon. It's always the same thing. Pull out the damn objective. They rush to try to kill it and they wanted to get over the wall, but they shouldn't ever be able to fight in the pit, and they should be kiting out as they, exit. They should be pulling out this Drake, rend it, and then kill it on the exit, run down, and kite away from the coming Maokai ult, and then maybe Rumble can re-enter mid, ult the wave, and then nothing's gonna happen. But they just don't kite it out, and they fight, of course, in a wrong position.
근데 KT 또 빨리 일어나면서 힘이랑 한번 더 아니 또 쳐요. 아까 그런 상황 날려놨으니까 아니 KT 또 갈려요. 또 가요. 젠지 비상. 이러면 갑자기 KT가 어떻게 수습이 되나요? 그래도 기인이 수습이.
This situation, plain and simple, there was no information for them to face check, and KT just punished a very stupid face check. Gen.G stepping into here for no apparent reason, and KT were very confident to engage, even though BDD needed a TP in. Gen.G's rationale was, Lissandra showing bot, we can face check, but obviously the composition is very squishy, and face checking into Maokai, Ezreal, Wukong, regardless of how late Lissandra will be, is insanely dangerous. So Gen.G get massively punished.
BDD가 일단 중앙으로 들어갔어요.
버스트가
넘어갔어요.
이러면 빨려 들어간 리신.
그리고 안돼요. 오래부터 그리고 기둥이 형 전멸했거든요.
그래서 그것이 앞라인이 부러집니다.
이러면 들어간다.
앞라인이 부러져요. 진짜 비상.
와 이거 진짜 아니 KT가.
With those earlier team fights, you can see that there's a clear flaw in Gen.G's composition. If they're not ahead with champions like Kalista, Renata, and to this Fate even, then they're going to, of course, struggle. If you position outside of the Drake pit and you can't, of course, charge the enemy as they cross the dig bush, the banana bush, then, of course, you're going to get absolutely bodied and murdered. In this particular scenario, you see that Gen.G is going to look for a Dragon Steel. The blue, of course, the Maokai ult is massive, and they spot Lissandra through the Twisted Fate port. Chovy does a little goofy teleport where he's trying to cut off the Lissandra, but in reality, he should just TP on top of her, because Lissandra using spells on TF, it's kind of a best case scenario, because he's quite bulky with the Rod of Ages and the Mercs, and she wants to get AoE in, especially with that Blackfire Torch. So he gets to E over the wall. Chovy is completely out of position. Canyon goes for a steal, and as he goes for the steal, obviously this fight is just not winnable anymore. Keen has no ultimate. They try to stop the enemy from entering. We have a very, very nice Renata ult that stops the enemy for just a little bit, but here, plain and simple, KT just outvalue them in team fights because of all of that AoE they have, and them simply outscaling in the team fights. This situation is quite extraordinary, as Chovy goes on to BDD to try to catch him and try to fight him. He's looking for him. KT is just a little bit quicker to collapse, so Chovy goes out. Pay attention to what Canyon just did. He went to Zimbabwe. And as he went to Zimbabwe, Perfect is TPing in. And from KT's position, they can just let this Lee Sin go. They can easily help Perfect here, and they can maybe all in a fight here with Maokai ult, and they can fight on Perfect. And I think they could probably have won the game here. But for some reason, the way Cuz played against Canyon on the day, it seemed like he wanted to kill him no matter the cost. So he's going to chase him all the way out, and KT are calling that they want to kill him, leaving Perfect in a very awkward spot. When we were all watching this live, me included, I thought Perfect just kind of hinted, but in reality, he was just TPing in, and as Lee Sin was porting out, he could have easily gotten bailed out by the rest of his teammates, but they just chose to chase after Lee. And then they're returning, Lee is buying time, and somehow Gen.G get an opportunity to, of course, pressure the Nasher. They know their composition is very weak, so they're going to full send it. They have the Rend and the Kalista, and KT are slowly poking away. Dioktam does a poor job of doing the pre-pokes. A lot of these Qs miss. I think that he could have done a more aggressive job here because he has full summoners to actually fight onto the pit. And I think they could have potentially aced Gen.G a lot earlier because Gen.G got a lot of free time to hit for no reason. And there's no real threat against Dioktam here. But in the end, the only person that gets out is Mr. Chovy as he kills Lissandra. They get to keep the Nashor, and it's a small consolation prize. And always with Gen.G, you never know, will they be dangerous enough to win the game off of this? Have they somehow won the game off of the fact that, you know, they are 7-17 in kills and somehow ahead in gold? Let's see the next play.
바로 쪽으로 패줘야
잠깐만요.
아니 뭔가 가지는데.
그나마 미드부터. 미드부터. 그래.
그래서 뚫어요?
반대로 뚫어.
누르는데. 얼음보다 멀렸습니다. 근데 전투로 이어지는 그림에서 이쪽 도장 한번 그림 좀 보이는데요. 핑퐁이에요.
어그로 핑퐁.
자, 다시 한번 부활하면 뒤쪽 이동.
네, 수호천사 다시 일어났고 그리고 저 리산드라 이기리어의 체력 보세요.
So while the Nashor didn't lead too much, the only thing they really got was a tier 2 and some gold for the Twisted Fate. Very strange purchase here, the Morellonomicon. There's not a lot of healing on the enemy team besides redemption, whatever. Especially when you are this fed on the Twisted Fate, you should actively look for something more powerful. I understand if you're slamming it, right? Looking at Twisted Fate's gold, you're just slamming this item because you have nothing else to buy. But I do think that even something as simple as Large Rod and Elixir would position you better because it would give you similar stats, and also it would position you to actually buy a stronger item later on if you actually win a fight, because I don't think this is the one that's going to decide the game. But let's play it. Kaz gets very poked by the Twisted Fate cards, and this is a huge trigger point for Gen.G. They want to, of course, pressure. Wukong is recalling and is now taking the portal, and you can see that Gen.G are posturing to find some kind of a fight, and they get Peter's flash out. This looks wonderful for Gen.G. They got some poke off, and KT's position is quite bad for the Drake, but they need to be very mindful about not over positioning because KT can easily trade the Nashor for, of course, the Drake that is alive. Let's play this out. So Kaz gets isolated and Chovy finds the card on him. The ultimate of Twisted Fate, of course, reveals Wukong, and they're trying to go after him. But Chovy oversteps as he's looking for the next card that he has. Kaz just finds a turn perfectly timed with the card that Chovy is about to throw. So Kaz gets the turn, and he wants to, of course, gain value here because he has the GA and he has Mercs, and he is looking to force a fight. This is a very, very bold move, and let's see how it just plays out here. He gets kicked out, but already Gen.G's position is super awkward, and BDD can instantly follow up on the engage. He gets a lot of damage down, but Chovy, of course, disappears, and he repositions to his teammates. And you can see here, as everybody buys time, Kaz jumps back in to get his second ult off right on time. Let's just take a look. How much time does Kaz actually have to do this before his ult runs out? I think it was in the final window. Boom. Then you can see here, he has a second ultimate. It's ticking, it's ticking, it's ticking. And this is pretty much the final second he has. Look at that timer there in the bottom left. It's ticking away, and then he gets to jump in once again. A clinical fight from KT, where Kaz gets maximum value. Peter jumps in, even with that small health bar, just wanted to participate. And Gen.G just once again get outvalued in the fight. Even here, the flash is pixel perfect from Ruler. But Perfect just keeps chasing, knowing how strong he is. He has his E. If he can land it, he's going to find lethals here. And the TP over the wall comes through. And the TP from this position too. Chovy locks in, of course, the exhaust. And as Lissandra enters here with her big items, she gets exhausted and CC and killed. But during this entire time span, you have, of course, KT just smashing the dragon with the Wukong and, of course, the Yorick. And they are very, very happy with this because this soul, of course, is one of the most broken ones and is unbelievably strong. And they can easily just carry on because they know the tempo of the enemy they need to base, and they're completely screwed. And they can just keep doing Nash, and they can just one-shot it because of how much damage they have. As we move into the final fight, Gen.G have to face the music, and that music is telling them, you guys are outscaled. You guys are outscaled. You have to do something crazy to win. Canyon just tries to create some chaos here. He goes behind the pit, but BDD is already ready to CC him. Gen.G gets some space in the pit to fight back, but Perfect just flashes over. And as Gen.G chase in, they have no jungler for the smite, and Ruler's trying to stack and fight over the wall. BDD isolates them and gets a massive combo on the triple, and the Ezreal auto finishes the Elder Dragon and also the game. What a wonderful occasion. BDD as a player, I am so happy that he gets the attention that he deserves in this year in particular. I assure you guys, this is not the first year BDD has been elo held. Last year was even worse. His year time on Nongshim was even worse. And you remember those memes about KT versus T1, about picking T1 and then KT losing? Keen was griefing him. Aiming was griefing him. BDD was solo killing Faker left and right, but still it was never enough. And BDD finally, after many years of extending his hand to his teammates, a strong hand that is willing to carry them if they just give a little pinky even, finally has teammates that also extend their hands. It's beautiful to see that the KT players, you know, always when you see real time players breaching new individual peaks like Perfect, like Peter, these are guys that you rated a very specific way, but now they have finally set a new standard for themselves. Dioktam and Kaz return to form. They've had points in their career where they've been great, but it's great to see them peak all together as a group here as they've qualified to the World Championship. A beautiful story altogether, and it was a blessing to witness it. If you like this type of content, please like, comment, leave some feedback behind. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Let me know which game you want me to review next. Thank you very much.